G'day, I haven't been making videos this week because of pimples. Lots and lots of pimples. In fact, a few days ago, this is actually a lot better than what it was, but a few days ago I was an absolute pizza face. And it's not been quite clear what's been happening, though I'm a bit suspicious because I have to wear this mask everywhere I go, and I suspect it might be trapping dirt and sweat underneath the skin because it was really bad around here just a few days ago. But it's on the mend now, but I thought, this is probably a good way to do a little talk about mental health in relation to coronavirus lockdown. Now, where I live, it's actually compulsory to wear a mask because I live in the Soviet Democratic Republic of Australia. The government here has imposed the strictest lockdowns outside of China. We are forbidden to go outside without wearing a mask. We need papers authorizing us to go to work if we work more than 5 kilometers away from our homes. Only one person per household is allowed to go and buy groceries at a time, and we have an 8 p.m. curfew. And that, on top of that, we're not allowed to go out to exercise for more than an hour a day. And there are actually many more restrictions in place, but we don't usually find those out until after we've broken them. So it's a very concerning situation to be in. And this all relates to mental health in quite a significant way. And I don't want to go down a deep philosophical rabbit hole in this video about the definition of mental health, but I'm just going to give you one definition. It's a very simple one. And this definition of mental health is having the ability to respond effectively to your problems. Now, a lot of people are paralyzed and unable to make something of their lives or to get things done. And a lot of people say it's anxiety or feeling overwhelmed or frightened or something like that. But it's actually because they perceive themselves, or they don't have any actual control over their situation. And a lot of people are violent, and it's not because they're angry, it's because they perceive themselves as having no control over their situation, and they're lashing out in desperation because they don't know what to do, what else to do. It's like a cornered animal. And a lot of people are suicidal, and it's not because they're sad or depressed, it's actually because they don't see themselves as having any other option. They can't make their situation better, and they kind of see suicide as being the only way they can actually try to escape or improve the situation because it's so bad. And so in better times, my work as a therapist is focused on what are called self-limiting beliefs. Beliefs where people say, I can't do this, I can't achieve this, I can't be happy. And these self-limiting beliefs are what reduce a person's mental health because they stop themselves from being able to look after themselves to be successful. And I kind of challenge those beliefs and try to discover new things that they can do with my clients, and that is a big portion of mental health. However, these times are different. It's not so much a matter of perception anymore, but a tyrannical, demanding and violent government using threats to impose its will on people. Threats backed up by violence and fines. And so right now, in this situation, depression is on the rise, domestic violence is on the rise, and suicide is on the rise because people can't effectively meet their own needs, solve their own problems. And it's particularly bad because, if you have an abusive partner, you can leave them. And if you have an abusive family, you can escape them. And if you are in an abusive cult, you can still run away from the cult. But you can never escape the abusive relationship you have with the government. Thus, we are facing a mental health crisis at the moment, as much as a pandemic, and the government is the biggest source of our mental health problems. It's the biggest environmental toxin for mental health at the moment. And that's not to say I think mask wearing is pointless. I'd probably still wear a mask anyway if it wasn't mandatory, but it's not helpful to take away people's choices and options, especially when it comes to people needing to work. in this time where you don't have a lot of control of your life, it's really important to focus on trying to look after your mental health. And so I'm going to go through a bit of my own situation and some of the things that I do to try and keep my spirits positive and keep myself healthy while going through this very difficult time. So maybe it can be of help to you as well. Okay, so my personal situation, it's beyond the pizza face, which has been quite awkward. I mean, I haven't wanted to make videos because I don't want to make videos and everyone's like, oh my god, you got a pizza face, and it's kind of distracting. But I thought, okay, if I make a video about why I've got it, that might be a good way of doing it. But some of the other problems I'm dealing with, first up was a big one. I lost 70% of my income when lockdown started. Which is hard for anyone, and I actually think it's a little bit harder for men. It's really hard because, like many other men, I'm trying to save money to build a nest for my future family. We men, we're nest builders. We earn more so that we can give more. And a man who's too poor to give often doesn't feel like a man at all, and this is why men tend to get very depressed when they lose their job, because they lose their ability to give, and that means so much to a man. And also, I sing in a choir. Well, I used to, but there's no choirs for 2020. And so that's taken away one of my greatest joys in life. And I've been struggling to eat a healthy diet because it's a bit more of a hassle now to get groceries, and I've been kind of skipping them, and particularly the fruit and vegetables. And so that's been a bit of a challenge, more so than it used to be. The thing that's upsetting me most is the government knows more than it's telling us and won't square with the people, won't talk about the issues going on, like with the gain of function experiments with the virus, and about the immigration and how that's affecting the spread of the virus. And they keep telling us the borders are closed, and then we find out this whole outbreak was caused by people from overseas coming in. And it's like, oh, they're not doing a good job, and they're not trustworthy, and they're lying to us in several times. Like I remember them telling us that masks weren't helpful and not to wear them, and now we have to wear them without choice. And hydroxychloroquine is another one. They told us not to use it, and then they tell us, oh no, only medical staff can use it to protect them. And it's like, well, if it works for them, why doesn't it work for us? And so it's been quite distressing to see the media not holding the government to account, not holding China to account. In fact, the media almost seem to be trying to get as many people, I know in Australia, and I think I've seen this in the US as well, trying to get people fight with each other, try to get us fighting each other instead of working together, instead of being united. And that's been quite sad to watch. And so what are some of my strategies to deal with how this has affected me? Well, I'm the first kind of step, is kind of the triage thing, is start to focus on the positives, because there are some positives to lockdown. For me, I've been able to catch up on my reading, and I'm actually currently, the book arrived. It took a few weeks to arrive, but the book I was telling you about a few weeks ago, that has arrived, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to make some more videos about it, because it's totally changing my perspective on the women's movement and on the 1950s and 1960s, and I think they'll be quite interesting. And I've actually had time to make these videos. Like I've wanted to make this channel for years, but I was at a point where I was working about 60 hours a week, and I just didn't have the time or energy to make videos. And lockdown, well, I'm only working 20 hours a week now. I've lost so much income, but at the same time, I really do enjoy making these videos. This has been a great positive experience for me, and I hope I can keep it up. And while I'm not able to sing in a choir, I can sing in the shower. And I can sing for my neighbors. They may not consent to me singing, that's true. And I'll actually sing for you at the end of this video. I'll put a little clip at the end. People have so much faith in the government's ability to solve problems here in Australia that whenever there's a problem, the first thing people usually say is, the government need to do something about it. And like, no, don't do this. You have a problem, you need to sort it out yourself. You need to take action, be responsible for solving your own problems. And that's part of the mental health thing, because if you are solving your own problems, you are building up your confidence and your self-respect. But if you keep saying, oh, I can't do it, the government have to do it, I'm too small and weak to solve this problem, you can see it's not good for your morale, it's not good for your dignity. So I see it as a very positive thing to see people losing their trust and faith in the government. And because, this false hope in a savior, like government, false savior, is one of the ultimate self-limiting beliefs. You are your best hope for success, whatever happens. Okay, so that was step one. And step one was count your blessings. And I always think it's very important to count your blessings, to always look in the positive in what you do have. And for me, step two is focus on what I can do. What can I actually do to improve my situation? Now, with the diet situation, I really wanted to... I live in an apartment and I wanted to grow my own herbs. I couldn't do this, so what I've done is I got some grow lamps and I tried an experiment with potatoes to see if I could grow potatoes inside my apartment. And it worked really well for the first few weeks, and I had these massive potato plants and then they suddenly died. I don't actually know why, but I'm going to keep going, see if I can actually grow some herbs. In the meantime, I am making sure that when I do go to the shops, I'm just like veggie, fresh produce, and putting in as much vegetable as I can into every meal. I'm also getting really good at my dance moves. I've got a very small apartment, but I am the lord of the dance. Now, I'm just doing this about every 3 or 4 hours. Sometimes I set a timer to make sure that I do take a break from what I'm doing, if I don't want to be sitting down all the time. And if I just find myself moving around 15 minutes, listen to some music, or even do chores with it, that's my movement. That's getting me movement. I'm not sedentary, and that's keeping me healthy, and that's very important. When I talk to people, I try to make sure I do it on the phone or on FaceTime. Now, I do chat to some people, that's typing, and that's not very good. It's much better for me to talk to people, because then I'm moving my lips, and moving my lips stimulates the release of oxytocin, and that's a neurotransmitter that helps make you feel calm, feel soothed. It's really for trust, but it does have that soothing, calming effect. And so it's more important to actually talk than to use your fingers to communicate. And so I know it's old-fashioned. Just pick up the phone, talk to people. That's what I do. Another thing that I find personally very helpful, and for people who aren't religious, bear with me on this one, but prayer or meditation helps me a lot. So what I do is I pray twice a day, and I actually pray a bit differently to how most people do. So my morning prayers are kind of focused on myself. They're kind of me going through the things that I'm dealing with, the problems I'm having in my day, and I think about them, and I focus on wanting to be stronger, to have more courage, to be more resilient, have more integrity, so that I will get through my day and I'll get through these problems that I'm facing and I'll do better. And then my evening prayer is about other people, and this is about me being mindful of the other people in my life who are struggling, who have problems. And by thinking about them, I'm putting them kind of in the back of my mind, kind of programming myself to be aware of what their problems are, and so that if I'm thinking about what their problems are, I'm thinking about things that might help them. I might have a flash of inspiration to go, oh, I know what that person wants. I should tell them about this. And that way, I'm actually setting myself in the mind frame to actually be more helpful to them, just as my morning prayer helps me to be in the right mind frame to be as helpful to myself and successful in my day as possible. And now, I think even if you're not religious, you can still see the value in this kind of prayer meditation. And so I think that's a really important thing to get some kind of power of your life. It's a really small thing, but I think it makes a big difference if you do have that focus on, yes, I'm going to improve, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to put more effort in, and I'm being more mindful of the other people in my life. Now, step 3 is the challenging one, because this situation, I think, is going to pass and lockdown's going to end. But I'm very concerned about the future. I don't think we've seen the end of totalitarian government overreach. I actually think we're still on a trend for it to get worse in the future. Apart from the totalitarian overreach, I think the virus is going to be around for a long time. And I think the economic problems are only just beginning. So those are 3 things that I want to prepare myself in the future. And this is in the context of mental health. By preparing for these 3 things in the future, I am going to reduce the chance of me being put in a situation where I am feeling helpless, despairing, like there's nothing I can do. And so for the first one, with regards to the totalitarian government, I'm definitely going to be looking at building and strengthening my alliances with my friends, with my community, because I'm going to need help from them if the government comes calling around to mess me up. And I think everyone else needs to start looking at building a community again, because a strong community and a strong family is the best vaccine against totalitarian government. The next one, with the regards to the pandemic, it really does concern me that we seem to have forgotten that China started this, that China was doing gain-of-function experiments, that they have a bioweapons research project, that they didn't tell us about the virus outbreak, and they deliberately kept their borders open to spread the virus and then tried to blame other countries for the problem that they created. And they are the ones who introduced the first lockdowns that shut down the supply chain that caused all these problems. And until we acknowledge, and I don't see the media trying to acknowledge this, and I see governments making half-hearted attempts to acknowledge this, how dangerous communism is, how dangerously irresponsible these people are, this is just going to keep happening again and again. And we can expect more political and economic crisis to come in the future because people are not taking the strong, assertive steps needed to stop this kind of communist aggression. Another thing that I'm doing is I've stopped buying Chinese goods. I am buying Australian goods whenever I can. If I can't buy them, I go for British, or I go for Canadian or American goods. And I see this as me investing in freedom, investing in liberty, because if I'm spending the extra dollars on products made from these countries, I am buying their independence, because it's not healthy to be dependent on an abuser. And we've become very dependent on a very abusive country, namely China. And there's a lot of other countries in the world who are abusive. And the first step to getting out of an abusive relationship is to stop investing in it. And so that's why my motivation is buy local. Do not buy foreign goods, especially from communist countries. I haven't made a video about this yet, but I am a big proponent of homeschooling because government schooling is not very good. There's a lot of issues with the teaching quality, and particularly with indoctrination and brainwashing going on in schools. Take them out of school, homeschool them, you'll be a lot happier, they'll be a lot happier, they'll grow up to be a lot more mature, a lot more self-responsible, and you'll be a lot stronger as a family. And remember, a strong family is the best vaccination against a tyrannical government. Regarding the economy, I'm making all sorts of efforts to diversify my income streams and where my assets are stored, so that if I lose something one place, I've got another place to turn to. Ultimately, my goal in the future is to have a nice little acreage, a little farmstead, and be able to grow my own food and be independent enough that if something absolutely catastrophic does happen, like famine, which does look like a possibility in the future, a very near future, then I don't have to worry about that. That's taken care of, and I can feed myself, and I can feed my friends, and I can feed my family. So that is how I'm looking into the future to do it. And I do think in general it is very important to invest in stronger communities. We cannot rely on the government to keep us safe and to protect us. We can only rely on ourselves and with the people that we have close bonds with. Like when we have a strong community where you take care of others and they take care of you, and you've got that interdependence and that mutual respect, you have the best social security network you could ever get. But you cannot get that with the government, because they can always hit you and steal from you and lie to you, and there's no consequences to them. Yet with the other people in your community, if they try to do that to you, there'll be heavy consequences. So you know that they are much more reliable and accountable than the government is. And that's where you should put more of your trust. That's all I have to say today. For those who are interested, here is a clip of me singing. I hope you enjoy it. Can't you see I love you? Please don't break my heart in two. That's not hard to do, 'cause I don't have a wooden heart. And if you say goodbye, then I know that I would cry. Maybe I would die, 'cause I don't have a wooden heart. There's no strings upon this love of mine. It was always you from the start. Treat me nice, treat me good, treat me like you really should. 'Cause I'm not made of wood, and I don't have a wooden heart. That's it. Until next time, Prospera ad Astra.